And welcome into this week's edition of The Locker Room. Got a great show, a lot of basketball talk coming up. Also, Mickey Shadracks goes one-on-one with Anniston head coach Schuessler Ware coming up a little bit later on. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. College basketball getting towards the end of the season. Alabama 15-9 so far. Got a big win over number 15, Texas A&M. Huge win against Florida. The Tide's rolling right now.
They have won 4 straight as we record today. I just think that Avery Johnson right now has his group exactly where they need to be. And basketball is a game of runs. It's a game of getting better. And it's a game towards the end, you want to be playing your best basketball. And that's what they're doing. And they're having great guard play out of Red Abasahan and Riley Norris. And then they're getting down low play from guys like Jimmy Taylor, guys like Shannon Hale, who came back from injury. Alabama's really, really impressive. But I think the key is that they played so terribly at the beginning of the year. In spurts, they played well, but they're now starting to string together. They now look more consistent down the stretch.
We're about to get into SEC tournament. Can they make some noise and get through the SEC tournament?
I think they're very, very possible to make some noise in the NCAA or the SEC tournament, and that could hopefully open the door for them in the NCAA tournament. But it goes back to what I said earlier about the way they're playing right now with consistency. If they can keep up the consistency, then they'll be good. If they started putting pressure on themselves, looking ahead to the NCAA tournament, then they can shoot themselves in the foot. But if they keep playing the way they're playing right now, really kind of inside-out basketball, I think they can make a strong run in the SEC tourney.
It's been a while since Alabama has been, that basketball team. Are they about there now?
They're getting close. I don't know if they're all the way there yet, but what a luxury to have the 2 kind of guards like Obasahan and Riley Norris that Avery Johnson just walked into, and they're coachable guys. And I think that's been the difference, that you don't have anybody trying to buck the current of what he's teaching it, they're learning it, and then they're making the mistakes that they're making, and then they're learning from the mistakes, and they're getting better. And I think that's the key. That's what Avery Johnson wanted at the very beginning, and that's what he's getting out of his guys now. If they can continue that, then they have a pure chance to become that basketball. I don't know about power. They won't be, Indiana or UCLA, or Duke tomorrow, but they'll get towards that and then, start to have realistic chances at making the NCAA tournament each year.
Let's move across to the other side of the state, the Auburn Tigers. It's been a rough season, especially the last few games.
Yeah, it started off really well. It started 6-3, and then Bruce Pearl had a myriad of injuries and discipline issues with guys like Simeon Bowers, with guys like Kareem Canty, who ultimately last week ended up leaving the program, will enter the NBA draft. I just think that it points to all the frustrations that come with losing. Whenever you're high and you're winning, you're playing well, you're doing well, and then you reach a point when things don't go your way, and it's the character of the team that'll carry it through. We're seeing on the Alabama side where they took it, they learned, and they got better. Auburn, unfortunately, has gotten worse. And then one of the key things that happened for them was when Kareem Canty left, and then T.J. Dudens, he got injured, left them with no point guard. And you're seeing the point guard play at Alabama and the way it's helped them out, and you're seeing the way the point guard play at Auburn has really hurt them.
Let's move up here locally. Jacksonville State, 8-20 on the season, 4-9 in conference play. The past few years, it's been this same way. What are we seeing from Jacksonville State?
I think you're seeing a lot of what you're seeing out of Auburn from JSU. They have 2 key injuries, Malcolm Drumwright and I think Christian Cunningham is the freshman who they came in and they were 2 leading scorers, guys that could give you a combined 25 to 30 points per game. Both of them injured, and both haven't returned to the lineup. You mix that in with a young core, and I think that Coach James Green is just dealing with the growing pains that come with the kind of season that JSU's having. They're getting some pretty good play out of some of their younger guys, and obviously a guy like Jay Hamilton won the OVC Freshman of the Week. I just think that JSU, in order to get better, more consistent play in a very tough basketball league, they'll need those guys to come back from injury. So for right now, it's just make very small improvements and then hope that you are where you want to be and try to get in and slide into a spot in the OVC tourney.
Well, high school basketball is wrapping up pretty soon. This week is the sub-regional and regional rounds. You've been out. We both have been out covering some basketball this week. Let's start with the girls sub-regionals. You were out at Faith Christian the other night. We've had a lot of girls teams advance in the sub-regionals to regionals.
Yeah, and this is the key part of the season. If you're a high school basketball team, this is the part of the season that matters. It's the area tournament that bleeds into the sub-regionals, that bleeds into the regionals, that goes straight into Birmingham. And you're seeing things like teams that know each other pretty well, playing once again in this area and sub-region around. And it's really all about playing your best, like getting your best basketball towards the end of the year. And so we saw teams like Faith Christian, saw teams like TCC. TCC ended up coming out with a win in the sub-regional, even though Faith Christian put up a stellar performance. And so what you see in Class 1A is all the way to Class 7A. You just want to be able to have all of the team's best performances come towards the end of the year.
Well, let's take a look now at the girls' regional pairings for the regional tournament this week and next week. And there you see in Class 1A, Spring Garden will take on Talladega County Central. Winterboro takes on Cedar Bluff. In 3A, Pleasant Valley and Pisgah. And Westbrook Christian will take on Brindley Mountain. In Class 4A, Sachs will take on Westminster Christian. Hoax Bluff will take on Locust Fork. And in 5A, the Anniston Lady Bulldogs take on Boaz, and Talladega against Booker T. Washington. And let's move over to boys now. I know you were out at Sacred Heart last night. I was at Anniston. Another impressive win for the Sacred Heart Cardinals.
Yeah, this team just impresses me more and more each time they take the floor. And this is now a team that's done this 3 times now. They've been to the sub-regional round. They've been to the region round. They've been to Birmingham. They won it all last year. Now the key this year is, can they come back and win it again? We'll see about that. On the Anniston side, it's all about the emotion. It's all about the emotion of this is Coach Ware being his last year, and you'll hear from him a little bit later. But this is his last postseason run, and you know his players want to play well for him. They showed it in the county tournament where they beat Sacred Heart, and they want to now be able to, in now 5A, kind of stamp their mark. They have a very tough road, and we'll see how they do. But right now, it's that team of destiny kind of thing, and you want to see from a just from a local standpoint, you want to see Anniston do well and see how far they can go in Class 5A.
All right, let's take a look at the boys' pairings now for the regional basketball tournament. And there you see in Class 1A, the defending state champs Sacred Heart Cardinals will take on Spring Garden. Winterboro will play Cedar Bluff. In 3A, Piedmont will take on Plainview, and Westbrook Christian will take on New Hope. In 4A, White Plains and Westminster Christian, Cherokee County and Priceville. In Class 5A, the Anniston Bulldogs will take on Guntersville, and the Alexander Valley Cubs will take on J.O. Johnson. And in Class 7A, that's going to be a big one right there, Gadsden City and Mountain Brook.
Yeah, if you're looking at just the semifinal matchups, that is the one that jumps off the page. The number 2 team versus the number 4 team. Mountain Brook has a history of winning state championships. Gadsden City, this is that spot that each year you kind of want. If you're a Titan fan, this is that point of the year. It always gets frustrating because they always seem to be just a hair off. And they didn't do them any favors. They didn't do themselves any favors having to play Mountain Brook. That's just the way that the bracket rolled out. But, I mean, just phenomenal matchups in the semifinals. We'll see if Spring Garden can do it again. We'll see if Anniston can get over the hump and get back to Birmingham. Obviously, Piedmont last year, a team that surprised everyone, making it to Birmingham. We'll see if they can go back this year. So lots of interesting storylines as we go into the semifinals and into the finals next week.
Well, we'll keep you up to date here on TV24 with all of those scores and highlights. We're going to grab a timeout. When we come back, Mickey Shadricks goes one-on-one with Anniston head coach Schuessler Ware. So stay with us in the locker room.
And welcome back inside the locker room. You're looking at footage from Anniston High School last night, the 5A boys sub-regional matchup between the Anniston Bulldogs and Hayden. There's a good look at Anniston senior Daquan Bam Ross had a big night for the Bulldogs last night. Anniston getting off to a fast start in this game. Here you see one of the threes from outside for Ross. He wound up with 16 points in the game. Bulldogs were led by senior Trey Croft, who had 20 points last night. Also Willie Thomas, another Anniston senior, chipped in with 16 points. With the win last night in sub-regional action, the Anniston Bulldogs now advance another trip to the Northeast Regional Basketball Tournament at Jacksonville State University that begins later this week. The Bulldogs will take on Guntersville in a first-round matchup in the Northeast Regional on Friday morning at 10:30. And join now, time to go one-on-one with the head coach of the Anniston Bulldogs, Coach Schuessler Ware. Coach, stepping into the locker room this week to talk to us about a lot going on with the Anniston basketball program this year. Of course, the Bulldogs still alive for a state championship, defending county champions after winning the county championship this year. Coach Ware also making news, announcing that he is officially stepping down as head coach of the Bulldogs. So, Coach, let me just start there because last night, I guess, was your last official coaching game at Anniston High School because you moved now to the regional. If you keep winning there, you head to Birmingham. So everything you're doing now is kind of for the last time. Talk about what it's like now as you're in that do-or-die situation here in the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're trying to do now is they have the fellas game prepared for the next game. You know, it's some things we're still looking at so far. It's the footage for Gunnersville game for Friday. And we'll try to finalize a game plan for Friday. And like you say, it's do or die now.
And Gunnersville, again, the opponent you've got Friday morning. If you're able to beat them, then you would take on most likely J.O. Johnson, who a very good team out of Huntsville. And then if you win both the games at the regional, you're off to Birmingham again. Talk about what it means to you to have this group of guys you've got, because they've had a great season so far. And I know you don't want it to end, but it's been a great season already. Very good team. I sense from you talking to you throughout the season, this is a great group of kids that you're really enjoying coaching in your final season at Anniston.
Right, good group. At times you get kind of upset because they don't work hard like you want them to, but game time they're more prepared to play, you know, and that's all you can ask.
Let's talk about some of the players. We mentioned some of your seniors who had big games for you last night against Hayden. Let's start with Bam Ross. What a game he had in the county tournament. Really a huge win over Sacred Heart to win the county championship. And, of course, Willie Thomas and Trey Croft and Keem Ross. A good group of seniors that's really led you, help lead this team in the locker room this year.
Right. Those fellas we look forward to in getting us from point A to point B, and they've had some good games. I guess it's never been to the point where all of them kicked in together, you know, offensively, you know, and that's something I'm waiting on. You know, I always will have one or two to come through, you know. But defensively, they all play good defense, and you know they work hard, and you know, and they're game prepared.
Well, you've been at Anniston. This is your 19th season. You've got over 400 wins, 2 state championships. You've won 8 county tournaments, been to the Final Four numerous times. You've coached a lot of good teams at Anniston High School in your 19 years. This has got to be as good as a defensive team, though, as you've had at Anniston. Talk about that part of this year's team.
They've been real good. I kind of compared them a little bit maybe to my old one team. That team went, I think it was about 25-2, real good. That's the team with Quintez Moore, Darryl Lyles, and Chris Lenz and them, and Donnell Dukes. That group was a real good group. And I compare them a lot. You know, this team might be a better shooting team than that team, but that team was real good defensively also.
Well, you started the trip down memory lane, so I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but I'm just kind of curious. You've had so many good teams and so many big wins. Just talk about maybe a few of the things that stand out to you when you look back over your 19 years at coaching some great teams at Anniston High School.
Well, you always remember those teams that won the big one. You know, the first team, first getting that opportunity to go in the 97 team, that's the year I had, that's when I took the program where we had the no pass, no play locally, you know. I had Damian Dorsey on that team, and C.J. Davis, and Mondrico Smith. That team was the starting point there. That team, we took the team, and after we had lost everyone because of no pass, no play, and we went to the Final Four the first year. Of course, now we lost the first game, but you know, at least we found out what it's all about and what we had to do to get back there. The team, like I said, the 01 team, there was another team that I thought would have made it to Birmingham. But, you know, we had some problems there with situations with one of the opposing teams we had. But the 02 team, having most of those guys back from the 01 team, was a slow start because we really didn't get on a roll into the second semester of that 02 team. You know, in fact, we won probably 16, 17 games straight, you know, because we didn't have everyone in place because of the academic, you know, academic rules. But, you know, we turned it around. That was a real good team. That was a team with Marcus Perry. We had on that team, let's see, I'm trying to think of some of the other fellas we had on that team there. Ontario Collins, Marcel Spinks. That was a real good team, real good team. Like I said, that won the first one for me. We always had memory of those guys. You know, they would tell you, say, Coach, man, don't worry, we got it. Don't worry, Coach. Let's just go on. Just be patient, Coach. We got it. You know, and you had to warn them that if you didn't have it, you know, what the consequences were going to be, you know, if you didn't work it out, you know. And after that, you know, we the next best team that would be the 09 team, where we had, let's see, Blair, and also Milton Curry. Trying to think of some of those fellas, but I don't work with so many of them.
Was Josh a part of that team?
Josh
English?
I think he was maybe 08, 07, 08, something like that. Right. That team was good. You remember we lost to Butler.
Yes.
In that triple overtime.
Yes.
Right.
Great game.
And that was a good team. That team would have won the state. Because I knew at the time whoever won the Northeast was going to win the state that year. Right. And you know, those teams, you never forget those teams that really left it on the floor.
A lot of great teams, a lot of great players, and a lot of great memories. And Coach, it seems like your team is really playing inspired basketball here in your final season. Good luck to you at the Northeast Regional. We'd love to be nothing better than to see this in your final season, this team get to Birmingham and compete for a state championship.
Yeah, thank you. And absolutely, that's something that we want. And I think the kids want it bad enough, and it'll be something good for the Anniston City School System and the city of Anniston. You know, we can bring it back home.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach Schuster.
Right,
Good luck
you.
the rest of the way. Appreciate you
it.
joining us this week on The Locker Room, and we'll take a break and come back with our roundtable. You stay with us as The Locker Room continues in just a moment.
Back here in the locker room, we just saw a great interview there as Mickey Shadracks went one-on-one with Coach Schuster-Ware. And, you know, when you think of basketball in Calhoun County, he's one of the names that really pops in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's one of the guys that is kind of one of the patriarchs, so to speak, because he went to Anniston. And you look at old team pictures of Anniston way back in the 80s and the 90s, and you see Coach Ware there. And he's just been such an integral part of that community and been such an integral part of the basketball program. Obviously, he has a couple state championships, plenty of Calhoun County championships. It's just fun to see him kind of go out, number one, on his own terms, and then seeing a team like this year's team that has a pretty good chance to make a run.
Yeah, and I tell you, don't be surprised if you see him coaching again, because we didn't get to this in the interview, but he's stepping down as coach at Anniston, but he's not really retiring from coaching. He told me point blank that if a school has an opportunity for him to work with their program, that he will definitely consider it. He doesn't want to be back involved in things full time, but I could see at some point down the road somebody getting a hold of Coach Ware, and he'll be back on the sideline coaching somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, because he's still very young, got a lot of time left to contribute, and but it will be strange not seeing him a part of the Anniston basketball program after all these years.
And this Anniston team, I know you talked about it in the interview, this is a special team for him, and they've done great so far this season, winning the county championship. They have Gunnersville this week in the regionals and have a chance to go all the way if they can make it past J.O. Johnson or Alexander, whoever they play in the region championship. But this has been a great season and still a lot more basketball to play for Anniston.
Yeah, hopefully so. And, you know, the regional is always one of those times where anything can happen, and when we've seen a lot of strange things over the years. And hopefully the kind of team that we saw in the sub-regional round against Hayden, the kind of team that we saw in the Calhoun County Championship team against Sacred Heart, that's the kind of team that Anniston can put on the floor any given night. And that's the kind of team that can make a run to Birmingham. So we'll see what team comes out.
And you know, it's interesting how this season has progressed, with this being his final year coaching at Anniston, them playing so well, winning the county tournament. that next step before a potential Final Four appearance in a state championship would be to match up with J.O. Johnson in the
Right.
regional final against old Anniston coach Jack Doss,
Right.
who everybody at Anniston knows so well. And I tell you, Anniston is not scared of playing J.O. Johnson
Right.
at all. They have proven going up against Spain Park and then the way they played against Sacred Heart, they're not afraid of anybody. A little undersized Anniston team, but as far as overall speed and defensive prowess, and like I mentioned in the interview with Coach Ware, they're just playing inspired basketball.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
these kids really are playing, they're overachieving, and that's nice to see.
Well, let's move on now to our locker room roundtable, and we'll start off with some college football talk out of Auburn this past week. Damian Craig, he left the Tigers for LSU.
Interesting move because we've kind of heard some rumblings under the surface, if you keep up with Auburn football, about, I don't know if dissension might be too strong of a word, but just some inconsistencies with the way matchups are as far as who owns what part of the football team.
Right.
And we'll see if anything comes out after this. But I guess the big takeaway for me is obviously Coach Gus Malzahn, if you're just looking at it just from a bird's eye view, you have to say that he's quote unquote on the hot seat. And we saw publicly what Les Miles went through last year.
Right.
So I don't know if this move makes any sense on its surface. Now there might be some underlying reasons that Damian Craig knows about that we don't know about, but just the move in itself, this late in the season after National Signing Day, it's really interesting.
Well, you know, we all talk to a lot of people. We hear a lot of things. We're told a lot of things. A lot of it you wouldn't want to say in a setting like this. But I will say that there's no doubt Gus Malzahn is circling the wagons right now. He knows that he's got to do well next year. He knows that. And he's surrounding himself with guys that he believes in, that he thinks he can trust, improving the chemistry on the coaching staff. And I don't think he fought too hard to keep Damian Craig. As hard as I know that is to believe for a lot of Auburn fans because of the recruiting aspect of it, he had Cody Burns hired within 24 hours.
Right.
And Cody Burns is a fantastic individual. He's a Gus Malzahn guy. There's no reason he can't be a great recruiter. And he's going to be very loyal. So there's a lot of reasons that this happened.
That was my next question with Cody Burns coming back to Auburn. What kind of hire is that?
I think it's strong. I think it's, like Mickey said, it was one that he made very quickly. I mean, you think how long it took to hire Kevin Steele and some of the other guys on his offensive staff, and then this one was like that. And I think that he knows that he's not losing as much as maybe the perception as far as recruiting goes, because obviously Cody Burns has had the position to where he's had to get those big-time guys. We'll see how he does next offseason, but I just think that in a situation like this one, Cody Burns was an easy hire for Coach Gus Malzahn, and for Cody Burns, this is an easy slide right back into where he knows, where he loves. He was an Auburn guy, so to speak. They always talk about Auburn guys, having Auburn guys, and I don't know if you could find an Auburn guy more so than Cody Burns. So I think it was easy from one to the other. Now it's up to Cody Burns to prove that he has all what it takes to coach the receivers, a position now that becomes more interesting without Duke Williams.
You say this is what's basically happened. Gus Malzahn went with Travis Williams and Cody Burns instead of NFL Hall of Famer Kevin Green and ace recruiter Damian Craig.
Yeah.
Now, we'll leave that up to everyone to figure out what that means.
Right.
But he's going to do it his way. And I think the fact that he knows he's up against it this year, at least you know he's doing what he believes is right.
Well, the Daytona 500 is this Sunday, and Chase Elliott, the 20-year-old, is sitting on top of the pole for this Sunday's race. What's it going to be like for him, rookie season, starting out leading the Daytona 500?
How interesting is it that he now rides in the 24 car? The year after Jeff Gordon leaves, his dad, the Awesomeville from Dawsonville, has won a Daytona 500. He now has a chance to win a Daytona 500. He's now the youngest guy. I just think that things are kind of coming together for him. I'm not saying that he'll have that Dale Earnhardt Jr., just that big win to replace Jeff Gordon, but I won't be a bit surprised. He's a heck of a driver, and we'll see how he does on Sunday.
I just can't get used to the fact that cars are cranking up and bats are cracking. I mean, I'm still kind of in football and basketball mode, but I think it's a neat story. Obviously, that Elliott name and winning a pole, that goes together. But I think this will be a wide open season, and I'm kind of still getting over the fact that Jeff Gordon's not going to be out there this year. It's kind of a strange beginning to the NASCAR season, really.
It's the 15th anniversary of the death of Dale Earnhardt at the Daytona 500. Will that put any kind of pressure on Junior for this race?
I don't think so. I think that he's done enough, and he's won enough of those key races. And 2 years ago, he had a chance to win a championship. Last year, he was in contention. Maybe the 20th anniversary, you know, just kind of reflective and nostalgic. I don't think there's any more pressure on him. I just think that it's about the same pressure as he normally has going into a 500.
I agree. I think he's kind of over that. I think you saw a little bit different approach in his mentality 2 or 3 years ago. I think he did feel pressure there for a while, but I just don't sense it anymore.
Right.
Well, it will be interesting to see the Daytona 500 this week, and we'll have all the results for you next week here on The Locker Room. If you missed time to watch the show, there's several more times you can check it out. Thursdays, 7:30 a.m., 4:30 p.m., and 8:30 p.m. And you can catch us on Fridays at 6:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. And you can watch all of the Locker Room episodes on TV24.tv under the On Demand section. We are also on Facebook. Hit the like button on the Locker Room page and on Twitter at Locker Room 24. That'll do it for this week's edition of the Locker Room. We will see you next week.